Wrote a piece about this on my Facebook page, Pen You While the Black Pen, but I think it's probably better if I make a video. And obviously because you guys are fucking lazy to read, it might be better for me to give you an audio visual talk about this thing. There's the trending pictures of the Mr. Price container that's just hit eThekwini, Ilovo township. Obviously accompanied by those are pictures of the USave containers as well. And I know Pick n Pay as well as an example is a company that's getting containers into townships. A lot of fake angry, fake woke black people are losing their marbles, saying we need to get rid of these containers. They're coming to steal our township economy. Blacks need to get all this bullshit and all this nonsense. So I wrote my piece on Facebook, and I'm making this video because I want to articulate some of the finer details that you guys don't know because you're lazy to actually research, because you're highly miseducated, and because the biggest source of your misinformation comes from social media and the fake woke blacks that you guys follow on social media. The Public Investment Corporation, the PIC, is an asset management firm which is fully owned by the South African government. It's represented by the Minister of Finance, which is Utito Mboweni currently. The PIC is probably the largest asset management firm on the continent. An asset management firm is fancy English for an institution that collects money. It has money. It has over 2 trillion rands in money that it's collected. Where does the money come from? The money comes from the UIF, Unemployment Insurance Fund. So everyone who kind of has a decent job pays into that money. The GEPF, Government Employees Pension Fund, which is a big chunk of the money that sits at the PIC. That's every government employee, your teacher, your nurse, your police officer, your traffic cop, your politician, all their pension money sits there. Government Employee Pension Fund, that sits with the PIC. Then you've got maybe about another 4 or 5, if not more, pension funds that put their money in the PIC. There's 2 trillion rands. The PIC then takes this 2 trillion and it invests it on behalf of the pensioners, on behalf of all your black parents that work for government and that work everywhere else. They invested on their behalf. 80% of the PIC money sits on the Johannesburg Stock Exchange, listed assets. 80% of the 2 trillion rands. The PIC is the largest investor in the Johannesburg Stock Exchange. They own about 10% of all the market caps in the JSE. That's your black parents' pension money that's invested in the Johannesburg Stock Exchange via the PIC. The PIC owns 15% of Mr. Price. The PIC owns 15% of Shoprite. These are just 2 companies I'm mentioning specifically because they're the ones that have the containers in the township. That means your black parents and every other black person who has money that sits with the PIC is invested in Shoprite and is invested in Mr. Price, which means they are invested in these containers that are coming into the township. Now, the 15% ownership of Mr. Price, the 15% ownership of Shoprite is not the only black ownership of these companies. You've got companies like Old Mutual, companies like Sanlam. You've got individual blacks that own their own shares. You can go on Easy Equities and buy shares today. And then you've got a whole host of other BEE vehicles and a whole host of other groups and stockpiles that buy shares in these companies. Not just Shoprite, not just Mr. Price, but a whole host of these companies that you guys call white monopoly capital. You can do the research. I think it's argued that 30%, if not more, of the JSE is owned by black people. It's in black hands. So this white monopoly capital, it's a valid argument because we know who builds the companies. We know who has the bulk of the wealth. But I'm trying to emphasize the fact that these companies are not only owned by white people, and these companies are partly owned by the same parents and the same black people that are complaining. Now, this is what makes it worse. Mr. Price, Shoprite, these guys have over 80% black employees. So their black employees are getting paid salaries every single month from these same companies that you hate. A lot of the other service providers have black employees, over 80%. Your security guards, your cleaning services, the people that drive the trucks. And even the manufacturers, the suppliers. If you're buying from Tiger Brands, from Unilever, from Pioneer Foods, and all these other guys, they have over 80% black employees, which means black people are getting paid from these companies. On top of that, these containers in the townships are either paying rent to a black landlord, or they've bought up the land from black people. They didn't steal it. They bought it. They paid these guys what they deemed a fair price, and they've now built these things that are going to be managed by black people, that are going to have black employees, and worse yet, they are going to pay tax. Tax which feeds your government. Your members of parliament which earn 100,000 rand a month are going to get paid from these same people. All of these initiatives, social grants, RDPs, free schooling, free healthcare, all of that comes from the tax. And this is tax that's not paid by these other guys that you guys normally attack, the Pakistanis and the Somalians who owns puzzle shops in the townships. And I've argued before as well, the reason the Pakistanis and the Somalians shouldn't pay tax is because if they end up paying tax, they're going to increase their prices, and it's going to be the consumers that pay that tax. It won't be them. They're still going to keep their money. The tax is going to be passed on to you. It's the same argument that I use with the taxi industry. If the taxi industry has to start paying tax to government, guess who's going to be paying the tax? It's not going to be the taxi industry. It's going to be the commuters, the passengers that sit inside these taxis. So when you rush to, these people should pay tax, you're only saying this because you don't understand how the system works. You don't understand how the economy works. You don't understand how money flows. And my biggest frustration with this containers argument is that most of the black people that are complaining are not business owners. They're not trying to solve problems. They're not even trying to compete. So Mr. Price will take their containers out of Ikasi, and then what? What containers are you building? What clothing stores are you bringing? And worse, even if you open a shop, you're going to go stock at China City. You're going to go stock from Chinese shops. You're not manufacturing your own clothing. And even those that are manufacturing their own clothing are sourcing from Indian textiles businesses. So when are you going to start manufacturing your own thing? When are you going to start building your own shops? When are you going to hire black managers and black employees? When are you going to pay tax? When are you going to get the PIC and other Stokvels and other black groups to invest in your business so that we can support you and build with you? Instead, you want to chill on social media like I'm chilling and chatting to you now and whine and complain because you're fake woke and you're fake clever. And unfortunately, your research is very shallow and you don't understand how money works. I urge you to please research better. I blame our politicians and I blame you as the voters and the enablers of these politicians for the miseducation we have at schools. The politicians don't want you to get good education because once you do, you'll realize how much of their wealth sits in some of these white companies. You'll understand exactly why they don't want to improve public hospitals, public healthcare, because they are invested in the private alternatives, the Curos, the Mediclinics, the Discoveries, etc. They don't want you. Similarly, the media outlets don't want to educate you guys because they want you to be miseducated. The more miseducated you are, the easier it is to manipulate you. But do the research, guys. Money is a game at the end of the day, and the game has rules and there's a way that it's played. Of course, the guys at the top constantly bend the rules and break the rules and bribe the rule custodians. But understand how the game works and research deeper, investigate, find out who owns the shares in some of these companies you call white monopoly capital. You'll be surprised. Find out who the managers are, who sits on the executive. Look at their payroll. How much of their money is actually paid to black people? How much of their external service providers goes to white companies that, again, have black employees and black suppliers in them as well? And how many black suppliers sit there? We're not having these conversations because we pretend to be angry, we pretend to be woke. Soon you guys will be burning these containers and you won't realize, just as the dumb EFF was marching outside clicks, you won't realize that this destruction is going to come back and knock you. Until you guys build your own things, until you guys build a parallel black economy, please look at the white people and the Indians and the Chinese and the other races that are creating these businesses, that are hiring your parents, that are paying tax, that are helping you, before you actually judge them. Understand how money flows. Johan Rupert cracked a joke in some speech where he was addressing, I think at the time it was Thabo Mbeki was the president, saying all these people that are talking about wine monopoly capital don't understand how much of pension money sits in most of our supposedly white companies. And the fact that if you destroy our companies, you're going to be destroying a lot of the wealth from these pensioners. You're going to destroy a lot of wealth that sits in people's investment funds. Those of you with unit trusts, those of you with insurance policies. That insurance money is taken and it gets invested in these same companies, and you're whining. Tomorrow when the economy crashes and your insurance premium or your insurance claims can't be paid out, tomorrow when your policies are worthless, tomorrow when the government has no more tax to take care of you, you won't understand that you are the reason that the whole system is fucked. I'm not the biggest fan of capitalism. I think we need an alternative to capitalism. I think we need an alternative to money. But as long as you're going to be living in a money world, as long as you feel that money is a solution or a big solution to a lot of your problems, but you don't understand how the money game works, you don't understand how the economy works, how the stock exchange works, who the shareholders are, who invests money, where that money goes to, you're never going to win. And you're going to keep liking and sharing a lot of bullshit posts that unfortunately are highly, highly misinformed and ignorant. Penuel the Black Pen. Love you guys very much.